For this.
Paige, can you send a link to Mark's Love? Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
It is high noon on a Friday, and we are delighted that you're zooming in and joining us to make history. We're just let a little bit more of the folks in from the waiting room, and then we'll get rolling.
Okie dokie.
Thank you. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to do just a really quick overview of Chester County 250 just for 2 minutes, and then we're going to jump right into the rock stars at hand. Rose and Adam are here from Valley Forge to talk about what you are and are not doing for 250. So it's going to be a fun hour of chat. We are recording, and it'll be available afterwards for people as well. Does that work? So I'm Karen Simmons of the Chester County 250 Friends of, along with Heather Reifert.
Heather Reifert, yeah.
Whose husband works at Pico and whose power is out right now. So there you go. That's how it goes. So for today, in case you haven't heard, we are trying to get everyone inspired to make history together through 2026 on the road to 2026. As you know, here in Chester County specifically, on the 250 Commission, we've taken national information of what's happening with 250 and statewide initiatives to come up with Chester County's version, which is also based on the Heritage Tourism Plan, which was presented last evening, actually, the Governance Services Building. So here are some of the core initiatives coming out of the Chester County 250 initiatives with the tourism plan. And what we're really saying is that because of where we're located, the power of our place in Chester County, we have some incredible sites where amazing things have been happening throughout our 250 plus years around. And there are all kinds of events already going on that we're urging overlay patriotism, of civic and pride, legacy, unfinished business, whatever those events need to lay over them in 2026, and just reaching out to let everybody know that 250 is coming and Chester County needs to be up and ready because we had such an incredible role in the founding of this country, as well as its continuing journey. And these are our two overarching aims for Chester County 250. We want to help throughout 2026, all year, help visitors, tourists, everybody encounter the many ways in which Chester County participated in and influenced the founding of this incredible country. And we also want to elevate everybody's understanding of this continuing journey to build a more perfect union. So as we look at what's going to be happening at the heritage sites and in communities and community organizations throughout the region, those are the two aims for Chester County 250. Our website is up and running. We have some great traction now on social media. Please check it all out. If you have events, we are listing them now. And we're doing an extranet with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, so it's a one-stop listing. There's directions right there on how to get your events listed, and then we'll co-promote them on social media. And we'll also have other resources for people who are history buffs or educators, so all kinds of things on the website. Please, there's an e-list to join. Just click and where it says get in touch, join our e-list, and that way we can keep getting the word out, and we can involve you in what we're doing, and you can involve us in what you're doing.
I haven't read it yet. I just saw that it came in this morning. Let's see.
Beth K, are you able to? Thank you. Yeah, and if you're doing other business on this call, Beth K takes the liberty of muting you. So on our 250 call, 250 website, there's all kinds of ways to get involved, and we join you to join us. And if you're part of an organization, there's a media kit on the website. So if you're part of an organization that just wants a continuing news about 250 to put into your own communications, cut and paste, that media kit's right there. And Beth Kay and Hannah and Paige at the Community Foundation and the 250 outreach folks are more than willing to help you get that information into your. And social media is big these days, so we like you, so please like us. How's that? And this is all taking place starting now through 2026, but in Chester County, the Battle of the Brandywine is 2027 with 250 years. And then after that, we hightail it over to Valley Forge. So we're just not going to be celebrating, commemorating throughout 2026. We've got some long-term things that we're doing, and everything we're getting in place is legacy stuff. It's not going to end at the end of that. It continues. And so that's why when we heard from Rose last, I think it was October, at a session on what you were thinking of doing with Valley Forge, we were delighted when you agreed to talk with us here about what's going on at Valley Forge, because you can give us amazing ideas for anybody who is affiliated with heritage centers here in Chester County and historic sites, and partner. So I'm going to actually turn the control over to you, Adam, so that you can run your own PowerPoint, because those slides are living, breathing, and they keep moving around on us. So Rose Fennell is our rock star superintendent of Valley Forge National Historic Park, Hopewell Furnace, and Washington Rochambeau, revolutionary site. And there's just so much. And Adam, Ranger Adam, also Director of Visitor and Community Engagement. So you can take it away. Ready?
I think Adam and I, first of all, want to thank everyone for inviting us to meet with you and inviting me back. And quite a bit has happened since I last presented in October. Adam has taken a lot of my 30,000 foot level ideas and helped create,
but I'm muted.
I think, a fairly
not on video.
compelling PowerPoint that kind of galvanizes all of this thinking. And so by way of background, I showed up at Valley Forge from Boston back in September of 2020. And I will say, I think being in Boston kind of helped me start preparing for 2026, because in Boston in 2020, in March of 2020, we'd already celebrated, or commemorated, I should say, the 250th anniversary of the Boston Massacre. So back in 2020, we were already hip deep in 250th anniversary stuff. And then this past December, the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. And coming up next year is the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord. And so I've been kind of keeping this running list of dates in my head around the 250th. So when I got here, I naturally automatically kind of started spinning in like, okay, what are we going to be doing here in 2026? And as was just alluded to, for this park in particular, being the culmination of the Philadelphia campaign, we have to sustain this commemorative period through June of 2028. And so I'm like, okay, resiliency, capacity, like, how do we want to set ourselves up and how do we want to engage so that we can sustain a 2-year commemorative period? Because I think that's what we're setting out to do. And so here are our thoughts, and it's very much a community-minded planning effort that we've been doing. And so let's go ahead and get started, Adam, with that first slide.
All right, here we go.
So let's start with the reality. So we have the 4th of July, 2026, 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. But what makes it extra special, Valley Forge is the only national park out of 425 plus national parks that was actually established on the 4th of July of any year. And so we think there is something very significant about that and something to be very proud of. Not only that, Valley Forge was the Commonwealth's first state park. And so when you think about what happened in 1976, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania gifted to all of the American people this thing called Valley Forge State Park, which became a national historical park. And so very much in 2026, we're going to make the creation of the park a centerpiece of our celebration. And then on December 19th in 2027, you have the 250th anniversary of the arrival of the Continental Army. And then 6 months later to the day in 2028, the 250th anniversary of their departure. Next slide. Other dates that have come up in the meantime. So in 2025, you have the birthday of the United States Army. Valley Forge is the birthplace of the United States Army. So that's coming up next year. Then you have the United States Navy and the United States Marines also have their birthday in 2025. That's happening in Philadelphia. In June and July of 2026, you have FIFA World Cup Soccer happening in Philadelphia. You have the Major League Baseball game happening in Philadelphia in July of 2026. And then I'll get to that last date in a minute. And so the way I've been looking at this, that's a lot of pressure and compression.
You ever been to Wissahickon?
Of a lot of high visibility, high impact, high visitation, high
Mom told me
participation
about a place called
events. And
Neverpool.
so here we sit in Valley Forge. What does that mean to us? And then another event that we're looking at in 2027 is the Army-Navy college football game is going to be in Philadelphia within days of
But the title
50th
itself.
anniversary of the marching in of George Washington's army. So that's floating around back there. Next slide, please. So thinking about all these dates, and in galvanizing my own thinking, here's kind of the theme that I first brought to the senior staff at the park. This idea of what I was calling 50 to 50, 25,000. And what that means is we have 50 years of Valley Forge National Historical Park. We have 250 years of the Declaration of Independence and all that that means. And then the other piece that I wanted to be very mindful of is we have 25,000 years of human occupation of this landscape that I know as Valley Forge National Historical Park by those first people, the Lenape people. And so how can we take the 50 and the 250 and the 25,000 and kind of galvanize some kind of commemoration around that this land, if I looked out my window onto the Grand Parade, I'm looking at land that has been stewarded by somebody for 25,000 years, with the Park Service being a steward of a scant sliver of time these last 50 years. So going back 25,000 years. So it gives us a chance to thank Pennsylvania for the gift of the park, contemplate our nation's story and history, and then also recognizing the First Nations that were here and the establishment of those First Nations. And so I want to just be able to acknowledge all of that. And then when you think about Valley Forge in particular, and you think about the Continental Army specifically, what we often reflect on is that story of struggle and adversity, but also the story that this landscape offered respite and renewal. It's where the United States Army was transformed from 13 individual militias into one united fighting force. That happened here at Valley Forge. And it was also an army that was made of a diversity of folks, free people of color, enslaved people of color, indigenous people, immigrants, new immigrants from foreign countries, in addition to people who had been in this country for, you know, a generation or two. And so recognizing just how diverse that company of people were, both the men and the camp followers who were with them. And so that kept having us use words that start with the letters R-E, you know. This was a place to reflect, to have these realizations, to recreate, to rejuvenate, to have this sense of respite and renewal, right? Next slide, please. So we know that Philadelphia is going to be the epicenter of attention. And so it is not the intent of Valley Forge National Historical Park to get in the way of any of that. We have a sister park, Independence National Historical Park, that's going to, they have the Declaration House, they have the Liberty Bell. So we're not even going to try to compete with that. But man, would we love to emulate what this landscape was 249 years prior, which is the place where you go to retreat, you know? So we want to embrace this idea of Valley Forge. Come to Valley Forge, retreat with us, you know, to get away from the modern day 2026 Philadelphia campaign that is soccer and baseball and all of the other madness that is going to be happening in the city. So what we had been saying, and Adam captured it in this slide in the last bullet, is I kept saying, we're not doing pyrotechnics and we're not doing parades, but everything else is on the table. What is it that we're actually going to be doing? And so, Adam, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what Valley Forge is looking at.
All right, thank you very much, Rose. Yeah, we are positioning in this and that we do want to be there is part of that big national party.
Adam, could you move a little closer to your mic? I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Yep. All right, everybody, excellent. So, we don't want to be, like as Rose was saying, we don't want to challenge Philadelphia's party. They have Thomas Jefferson and everything. We occupy a unique space outside the city for a little bit, and we are still going to be a destination in many, many ways. So what we're looking to do for the commemorative, as we get into like our commemorative windows, one of the big ones is going to be that early summer of 2026, and in particular the weekend, it starts off with June 19th, which is our March Out. It's annually a big celebration in the park. In 2026, it falls on a potential Friday, Juneteenth, so a 3-day weekend. With the new federal holiday. And our programming, I really want to focus it away from the encampment in 2026. So not so much talking about George Washington, huts and soldiers and everything, and focus more on the creation of the park and the history of the park itself beyond the encampment. So like one example that I really would like to do for Marching Out is a recreation of the rally in June 19th, 1878 to save the headquarters building, which one of the centerpieces of that was Anna Morris Holstein. She's a local woman. She has a historical marker over in King of Prussia. I think one of her houses is over there. But her and the Memorial and Centennial Commission did this huge rally to raise money to save headquarters, to capture some of that spirit, I think, for 2026, as we're focusing on the park's birthday. I think that would be a great avenue to explore and programming to offer that really departs from what we do on a regular basis here at Valley Forge. And then throughout the course of that summer, moving on from June and into July, we're looking at doing one sort of like special program each day during that sort of like 2-week window. And we really want to go find people in the community that have seen the park's creation. If we can get somebody from Pennsylvania State Parks in here to reflect on their history of when they were managing Valley Forge. We're working with our tribal liaisons, specifically the Delaware Lenape in Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Canada, about what programming they want to talk about, how what their presence was on the land before European arrival. And we also want to focus some programming on the transformation of the Grand Parade. This area that went from natural area to farmers' fields and industrial village to encampment to fields and industry again, and then finally into park. And then just ongoing in the visitor center, we're looking to do some temporary exhibits. But in particular, one thing that we think would be really fun is we want to actually do a recreation of the stage where President Ford signed the park into existence. If you go online and look it up, I should have actually provided a picture, but there's this really funky like Persian rug with a desk and everything as he's signing the legislation. But that's sort of that commemorative window. That's kind of around the lines of what we're looking to do in the park during those weeks. And we realize there's going to be a lot going on in Philadelphia. That's where all that firework and bunting is going to be. All those fireworks and bunting are going to be. We want to provide a little bit of a different experience. Now, out in the community, because a lot of places have been looking towards us and like, what are we doing? What should we do? 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 And we came up with this idea of, for all the sites that are around here, and this is not even just a historic site or a place that has a historic connection, but practically anywhere in the surrounding community, and not just Chester County, but Montgomery County, Delaware County, this really simple idea of places of declaration. And we're kind of putting ourselves out there to be a bit of a centerpiece in this to help kind of like organize it. We can't send a million rangers out in there, out into the community, but we want to have an effort of all these different places host a reading of the Declaration. I know that seems very simple and probably one of the most basic things, but it is what is a way to get people to all of the events that you're doing at. So it could be a historic site, a city hall, a private business. So like examples, thinking like I saw what somebody from Colonial Theater, Mayor Pete reads the Declaration, at Colonial Theater, like, and then you do a showing of of the Patriot or something along those lines. If there's a jazz festival or a concert somewhere, you do the full reading, the full half hour of it, and then that's what kicks off the jazz concert. If it's an institute of learning like community college or something along that lines, you do the reading, and then you have your history professor and your political science professor have a round table or a debate over what the meaning is, because I don't think most Americans have actually heard the entire full length of the Declaration of Independence. They've heard when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary, but they don't hear all the grievances and some of the language that can be kind of shocking. King George motivated savages, he had the audacity to create Canada, all these things that we've put out there. It can be a shocking document, but we really think Americans should take a chance to hear it. And what better way for them to hear it than in their community, surrounded by their neighbors at a site of gathering, like they likely would have done so 250 years ago. So
Adam, this is amazing. And Rose, Adam, I think this is the best, amazing idea. You want throughout the land, throughout the region, you want partners. I think this is great. And how we can, I'm just thinking all the Rotary and service clubs we're meeting with, what a great thing to get each of them declarations and have them then go out in the community that week, the 4th of July, and just do just what you just said.
So when I shared this with the senior staff, again, because I'm old enough to have participated in, bells across America and hands across America, and so it was like, and
Adam, you have the mute control. Thanks, Adam. So when you heard, Rose?
So again, when I came up with this particular idea, I had been a participant in things like, as a kid, Hands Across America, bells tolling across America.
Right.
And so in talking with the senior team, and we were kind of getting ourselves wrapped around the axle about all these things we were going to do, it suddenly just came to me like the whole purpose of the day is the Declaration of Independence. It's not about the Revolutionary War.
Right.
We weren't really free from British rule yet. It's about that piece of paper.
Claire.
And then in talking to Adam, who's more my historian and can ground this in truth. Yeah, the thing.
Oh no, I'm a storyteller, not a historian.
Right. But the fact is, it wasn't really read by anyone until after the 4th of July. But we're going to set that aside, right? So we had this vision of people like reading it from their iPhone,
right?
And just bring a modern tone to it. But this idea of sharing a moment with all of the other citizens, where we have a common, not purpose, but where we have a common experience in Chester County and a common experience in Montgomery County, where, hey, on July 5th, you could say, where I was yesterday when they were reading the Declaration of Independence, we were at Founding Farmers having dinner because they were going to do a $17.76 fixed price menu. But first they read the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
So we're really pleased that you guys are pleased by this idea, because it's one we're super excited about. And the other thing is, it's just not a heavy lift.
It's not a heavy lift. We can promote this, and this can be doable.
So the idea
I like
would be,
the registrations idea as well, so that the conversions.
Right, so Adam, if you want to give a little more detail about that, about kind of where we
Yeah,
see
so-
ourselves and where we're looking for community.
So
Yeah,
we're the
thank you.
community, where and it sounds like you guys are already starting to think in this mindset is that, you know, we can, you know, like, you know, there are some things that we can contribute as Valley Forge, but we're not going to be able to go out to potentially hundreds of sites, you know. We can try, work with, like, especially like some of our retail partners in terms of like making sure everybody gets a Declaration of Independence or whatever, but having some sort of like community managed like web system where,
Yeah,
this,
we can do
a
this.
Colonial Theater can register, hey, we are a place of declaration, and sorry, Colonial Theater, I live in Phoenixville, I'm picking on you.
Don't
But,
be
like,
sorry.
Colonial Theater can
It's got the blob behind him. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Like they can say it's a blob reading of the Declaration of Independence.
That's awesome.
At July 4th at 1:00 on Bridge Street in Phoenixville. Mayor Pete will be the reader. Or whatever that is, but just someplace where it can all get registered, and so that the public can then find it, and then it can also be advertised out through all of our different. So that's where I like my ask comes to the community of like, we've got this idea, we can contribute some things. If one of you is out there and wants to be the one that like kind of like, hey, this is where you register your place of declaration, and then that's the working title I have for it. If you have something that's more creative or catchier than that, please by all means. That's the but that's kind of that's the idea that I wanted to put out there, and
I love it.
it's a simple, easy lift that any site can get involved with.
Yep.
Whether it's whether it is Pottsgrove Manor, I saw Justin on here as well, that is historic and tied into the story, or if it's an ice cream stand, they can all get involved in this, and
So-
and like it does evoke like what I remember with the end of the 150th anniversary of the end of the Civil War. I was at some Civil War parks before I was at Valley Forge, and there was this thing of ringing bells all across the country, and it was just a simple thing. Everybody came out, you had the jingle bells, school bell, cowbell, bike bell, whatever, and you just rang a bell, and it was a way of kind of making this like mass experience, but for a very small, very simple lift.
But it's also historically accurate because in the 1700s, you would have been in a meeting house or
Right.
tavern or
Right.
other
On the
place of public
street, yeah.
gathering
Yeah.
to hear the words. And so that's kind of the feel we wanted to recreate, is this idea of being with your fellow citizens and hearing this word that we're going to declare independence from England. That's a big deal. And to be hearing that and the shock and awe that people must have felt to hear those words. And so that's sort of the spirit we were going after.
And look at
then-
some of your comments. You've got Ranger Rose. and
Yeah.
Adam, a group
Oh,
of
I don't
students
have the
picking up,
comments up because I'm
running
sharing. but-
serially, and Laricia. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's some great things in the chat. Definitely getting kids involved and teenagers in local performances, having a group of students start, one paragraph each or one. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that-
gosh. Yeah.
So we did that at Hopewell Furnace last year. Is the site manager had the idea of kind of cutting up the declaration, and people would read a sentence or two, and so we were able to have 45
too.
participants instead of one.
Yeah.
So however, again, we
Beautiful.
don't want to own this at all. It's like, hi, here's the Declaration of Independence. Have
Yeah.
fun with it.
This is great. This is great.
All right,
Oh, I
Adam.
bet you have, this is, all right. Onward, please.
Okay. All right. So then, we got it then, July 5th, the party's not over yet. And a lot of, there is this transition that we have to think of here. The remaining summer of 2026 will probably still be a generally busy one in terms of visitation. I can especially see even that week following July 4th, we're all going to be a little exhausted, but that may also be one of those times that all of the groups that are in Philadelphia, they all like, oh, okay, cool. We saw our fireworks on what is it, the Parkway, Ben Franklin Parkway. Now let's go see all the other little stuff that's out in the countryside. We may get some of that. It may be sort of a hangover effect through the summer. But I feel like it'll probably start to dip off a little bit as we get into the fall. And that fall of 26 through summer of 27, that's going to be a really crucial time for us, because then that's kind of the lull that we're going to need to prepare for all of our 250ths for all of these historic sites that are out here in Chester County, and Montgomery, Delco, all of them as well. So yeah, as we get into September 2027, this is when the 250th of the Philadelphia campaign begins. This is the big party for your Brandywines, your Paolis, your Germantowns, all of them. And then finally a transition. So like, I want to just like kind of put this out there that like, we're thinking about this in this, like, especially the second little bit there, that lull is going to be really important for all of you to kind of keep in mind. Once the initial sort of hangover goes away, we're going to have to get right back into planning and preparation mode again. Won't be, I don't think it'll be quite as crazy, because there won't be the national sort of dialogue going on, but it is still going to be a very important time for all of us. And just to like give you I know most of you, one of these maps is very familiar to you, but I just, for anybody that was on the call, this kind of show the spread of the Philadelphia campaign. And you go as far south as Maryland, you go as far north, as White Marsh, and heading up, towards almost Trenton. You go as far west as almost Reading. I mean, this campaign covered all of the local area. There are dozens and dozens of sites that it hit that are going to be going through their 250th anniversary. I know a lot of you on the call, I know this already because you're very intimately involved with these sites, but I just wanted to kind of put a little bit of a visual up there. And then, so I know you all are going to have all of your different events and commemorations and celebrations and memorials going on. In the park, we've got our two big dates, December 19th and June 19th. And so here's kind of what we were, this is like, we're using those two dates as our big tent poles. And we'd love to kick off our 250th with, for right now, this is a very working title, The Great Marching In. And for those of you that have been familiar with Valley Forge, March In, it's one of our big events every year. We've gotten back to doing it at night with the candles and the fire and everything. It's very theatric. It's very much centered within the park. My thought of this is, kind of part of my inspiration is the painting that you see in the upper right here of the forces arriving at Valley Forge on that day. And the park is we sit at this really great kind of crossroads of our local community, where, Chester and Montgomery County come together to meet within the park. We have the Schuylkill River Trail passing through the park. We are very close to the Chester Valley Trail. There's going to be a new connector trail coming from King of Prussia that's going to be coming into the park and everything. I think what I think would be really cool is to get some sort of like reenactor procession, some sort of group that's like symbolizes the American Army arriving into Valley Forge. Now, a lot of this will take place outside of the park because they have to march from somewhere. The main image, the modern image that's the main splash image on the screen is actually from Minuteman National Historical Park up in Massachusetts. They do their Patriots Day Battle Road commemoration, and they draw several hundred reenactors. So just to give you a sense of like visually kind of what I'm going for, it won't be a bunch of Minutemen in their Sunday best. We're looking for more, like we know some reenactor groups that portray the Army as they looked at Valley Forge, but to show the Army progressing through. And then because especially if we use the Schuylkill River Trail or the Chester Valley Trail or one of our existing trail networks that's already in the community, there are plenty of places where the public can stop and observe without necessarily creating that big of a disruption. So, there's the trailheads, there's the parking lots, there's the places that this trail passes by areas that already can handle a good amount of visitation. It becomes a thing. You come out, watch the Army pass by, and then as they arrive in Valley Forge, we have an experience within the park for anybody that wants to see them on their arrival. And again, it's going to require, like, this one's going to take a little bit more on the ground planning with like some of the municipalities, like providing police support, porta potties, road closures, whatever that may be. But this is just a thought for the team arriving. All right. And then To flip that, on the way out, so as you fast forward 6 months, again, a way to get the community involved, a great marching out. This, as opposed to just being a reenactor centric sort of thing where, because, it's going to be taking place in June. You're going to have good weather. Schools are going to be out by that point. This is almost like, I'm almost inspired by our Rev Run race that we have some sort of community walk of like, get everybody together, like whether, lead it with a marching band, lead it with a formation of the Pennsylvania National Guard, have them start at Valley Forge and then head on out to go chase the British down at Monmouth. And again, kind of almost reversing what we did for the arrival. Again, it's simplistic in sort of its general idea, but I think it provides a way, again, the community can really participate in this sort of thing. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or comments they would like to put on that, but that's sort of what we're looking to do for our 250th, that it, again, will spill out over into the local community. So, and then one final thing that I do want to bring up, one of the things that for the commemorative period of 2027 to 2028 that I definitely want to really focus on is Valley Forge's connection to the modern U.S. military. So, yeah, as we said, Rose said, yes, the U.S. Army may have been, created in June of 1775, but it was really born at Valley Forge. Some of our training and doctrine that the modern military uses today traces itself back to von Steuben. This is where you first see the USA cipher as a button, as the Army calling itself the United States Army. That all starts here at Valley Forge. And throughout the year, I would really like to, if you are swearing into the military, you're getting a medal, you're getting an extra stripe, you're retiring, I'd love for you to do it at Valley Forge. And so anybody here in the community that has a connection to the Pennsylvania National Guard, local recruiters, ROTC units, I'd love to have that information. And then my real pie in the sky dream is, I don't know if anybody here is a college football fan, but the Army-Navy game is being played in Philadelphia just days before the 250th anniversary. The Army uses it as a recruiting tool. They use it as a way to connect with their past. They have these commemorative uniforms that evoke, Army actions or units from years gone by. If somebody knows somebody at West Point that I can get their ear for 5 minutes and say, we'd love to have Valley Forge themed uniforms, at the very least, NBC, when they're whoever it is, when they cut away from the broadcast, I don't want them showing the Liberty Bell. I don't want them showing, downtown Philadelphia. I want them showing Valley Forge and that surrounding community for that year. So, all right. But that's everything we're looking to do on the ground. I'm going to hand it back over to Rose for what is the park doing right now?
Thank you, Adam. Next slide, please. And I'll run through these fairly quickly. Sorry, we got kind of excited about your excitement on some of the other stuff. So but we want to leave a few minutes for comments.
You're doing great.
And then also we have some responses for some of the questions being asked about Conestoga wagons, for example. So what we're doing right now and what we've been doing since my arrival and before is we've started sprucing the place up. Again, if we're going to be that place of retreat, we want to look real pretty when folks show up. And so we are got some additional funds to do some temporary hiring of some folks. And so we are hiring a preservation crew to come in and fix windows and reglaze windows and nail things back together again. We're also improving our directional signs, trailheads, trailhead furnishings. We want, if you're at a trailhead in Valley Forge National Historical Park, we want that branded so that you can know just by looking where you are. There's a huge project that's getting ready to start, which is they're going to be realigning Route 23 just at the entrance of the park to push 23 closer to 422. So there's an additional 9 acres of park that we've been separated from for decades that we're going to get back. And what is Route 23 is going to become an accessible, family-friendly trail that's going to connect to the Joseph Plum Martin Trail and the Schuylkill River Trail. So we're also going to be installing new waysides. Those are those storyboards that you see when you walk around a park, doing new wayfinding. And starting next year, we hope our friends, the Valley Forge Park Alliance, will be cutting the ribbon on the newly refurbished Maurice Stevens House, which will have accessible bathrooms for visitors and also a cafe service. So there'll be an additional amenity. Next slide. So here's the thing that sticks in our craw. I'm sure it's every community. This is what's got us wrapped around the axle. What we do not want to be is an attractive nuisance. So we do not want to have all this great stuff going on and people sitting on 422 or stuck on 76. And so we're starting to have conversations with different transportation groups. We've been talking to the Tourism and Convention Board. I've been talking to our sister park in Philadelphia. This is not my forte, but I know that there are transportation experts out there, and I'm curious to hear what different municipalities are doing, because I wasn't here when the Pope was here, but I understand there were these same kinds of concerns. And it turned into a big nothing burger because people were too afraid to get around. I don't think that's going to be the case this time. But I am very, very, very concerned about getting people to Valley Forge National Historical Park, and even once they're here, around the park. And so we're exploring options there, like a Valley Forge rideshare program. It's like Valley Forge Uber. You're in the park, you do an Uber to get you from one point in the park to another point in the park, but we need that to be able to connect to getting you from the park back to your hotel or your home. Next slide. And of course, participating in things like this, connecting with our neighbors, finding out what everybody else is doing. Adam mentioned that lull period that's going to happen. We think a lot of good work is going to happen then, but we want to start those efforts even now in getting to know our neighbors and other stakeholders.
And one small addition to this as well, like especially when it comes to like, you know, the Philadelphia campaign and everything, I'd really like to kind of start putting together a little bit of a group of some of these other, like all these different like little historic sites that are around here, because they all, you know, they could, some of them call on us already for their commemorations a year-to-year basis. I think us all coordinating, like, hey, you know, there's going to be events happening this day, this day, this day, this day, and so we don't end up stepping on each other's toes. And also possibly that's where we can best share some resources as well. So I'd love to start putting together like just like a kind of almost a historic site specific, like, you know, we get together once a month.
Adam, we are ready for you.
We've got a
We
guy.
are so ready for you. We got Mark Slop on this call. We got, where is Rob? We've got the Philadelphia campaign heritage sites
Awesome.
ready
Yeah.
for
And if you
you.
guys already have a structure that's already kind of existing and it just means
Mark,
Yeah.
Rob, where,
even
Mark,
better.
Rob, raise your hand. Oh, they're on this call. And yes, we have a Philadelphia campaign work group. And where's Janine? Yeah. Yes, we have it. Yes. I bring whiskey.
Not when I'm in uniform, unfortunately.
Oh, 5
Adam-
o'clock.
So Adam, if you want to take the presentation down, and we
Yep.
can look through the chat to see what kinds of questions folks had.
And I'm going to hand hosting back.
Oh, yeah, I'll
to
take
Beth.
it back to Karen.
Karen, can I jump on for 1 second?
Oh, yes, Janine.
Hi,
Want to
everybody.
introduce yourself so they know who you are?
Yes, I'm Janine Spears. I'm a senior community planner with Chester County Planning Commission, and I am part of the Brand New Battlefield Task Force, and have been for over 20 years now. So I've been doing a lot of the planning work with the Battlefield Task Force. And I wanted to throw out the coordination slide. The last slide was particularly interesting to me because I guess it was last August, the Battlefield Task Force had a working meeting with both 250th, Delaware County and Chester County, because, you know, Brand New Battlefield crosses both, and started to talk about task force goals, and then did a round robin to find out the stakeholders in the room, what their goals might be. And I wanted to let everybody know that we're planning another one May 30th. We're doing it on the 5th week of a month so that we have a chance for people to participate who are in municipal meetings. And we would like to invite Valley Forge actually to speak at that, as I'm sure you've all heard of the Heritage Tourism Plan, which there was a public meeting for last night, and there's a concept in it that basically has a tiered system on how you put together a structure of a kind of a coordinated network. And the biggest visitor site is called a gateway. And basically Valley Forge, somewhere in Valley Forge, I don't know where in Valley Forge, if it's the village of Valley Forge or the park, would be designated one of these gateways along with the Battlefield Park, Brandywine Battlefield Park. So we wanted to invite Valley Forge and Brandywine Battlefield Park to be one of the, main speakers. And then we're actually going to do breakout sessions so that the gateways can meet with the heritage centers and meet with the interpretive sites. Anyway, I don't want to go on and on about that, but it's the evening of May 30th, and your last slide just, hit a home run for all of that. So thank you very much. Thanks, Karen, for letting me speak.
Janine, you're gonna help us get this organized. You said it's May 30th, and you're inviting Valley Forge. And it's morning, afternoon, or evening meeting?
Evening.
Okay,
We usually
Adam.
start the meet and
Well,
greet at like 5. So
Okay. Does that help?
That's great.
Good.
Yeah.
And Janine, Marksloff, and Rob, where are you on this call? Can I see you? I think we can help make this so. Yeah, there you are, Rob. Yeah, I see you. Thank
I'm
you.
here.
Oh, there's
And-
Mark. Yeah.
And Adam, what you said is right up along with what we were talking earlier with Rose about getting together. And we have a pretty developed program. Janine, Rob, and myself are all happy to work with you on developing the whole Philadelphia campaign.
Okay.
And we have a lot of resources put together already. So we don't need to start over, but
Excellent. That's
somehow we'll get
awesome.
your
I'm glad to-
contact
Glad to
and
hear
we'll-
that that's already there, because yeah, like I said, if I just gotta hop onto your meetings that you're already doing, amazing.
Yep,
So-
sounds good.
We'll hook you all up with emails right after. Don't worry. Yeah. And anybody else interested, let us know, please. You'll be hearing more. What other questions came up that you would like to address, Adam and Rose? Or do people have questions, comments?
What's happening in the chat? Let's see.
Just to confirm, this morning I spoke with Jason Powell, who is our curator, and we do have a Conestoga wagon up at Hopewell Furnace National Historic Site, and we actually have someone coming up from Harper's Ferry to do an assessment on it. And so one of the ideas we just came up with this morning was this idea of doing a preservation project in real time at Valley Forge, so that people can watch us restore this Conestoga wagon, possibly in time for the anniversary. So that would be kind of
Very
fun.
cool. Right, just put her right out there. Oh, beautiful. Excellent.
can I add one more thing, Karen?
Of course, Janine.
Sorry about, I don't want to dominate the meeting. I just wanted to let everybody on this call know too, that the American Battlefield Trust had reached out to me late last year, and I've been working with them, and
Good
they
one.
would like to apply for a federal grant, a National Park Service grant, to do a visitor experience driving tour. And they had selected to do one for Brandywine Battlefield, which we've been trying to do, which what I've learned is not an easy task. The driving tour is not an easy task. It sounds easy, but it's really not. And so they want to coordinate with us. And I had asked them if they would expand that to the whole Philadelphia campaign, and they said they would. So some of you might be hearing, some of you might be hearing from us, including Valley Forge Park for letters of support and more about this. But so that would include Brandywine, Paoli, Clouds, Valley Forge, and trying to do some kind of driving tour visitor experience connecting all those sites. It's a big lift, but hopefully we would get grant money for it. So just wanted to throw that out there. Also, you might be hearing from me. Thank you.
That is great news, Janine. I'm so glad you could announce it, and we have partners right here. Excellent. So letters of support requests forthcoming.
That's awesome.
Great, excellent. Anybody else got great news to share?
There's just I did see there's a question from Peggy. What about the Oneida's role and gifts of corn to troops in Camp Valley Forge? Actually, that's one of the so one of the activities that goes on in the park is Historic Philadelphia has their storytellers, and we've actually we just created
Right.
a new story regarding Polly Cooper and the corn that's going to be in the rotation of stories that they're doing. We're also in our wayside, we're putting in new waysides, big informational panels that you see scattered throughout most national parks. We're looking to incorporate the Oneida into those stories a little bit more. A lot of our efforts when it comes to like travel relations, though, have been with the Lenape, which that's, you know, at a high level, you know, we interact with the Lenape like another like a foreign nation, you know, and we've got a whole, our archaeologist is our travel liaison coordinator. So those are that's something we very much let them take the lead on, you know, what they want us to say, what they give us their story to share, not so much we say, hey, here's what we think your story is. They're giving us their story in that regard. So the relationship with the Oneidas is a little bit different because the Oneidas are from a different part of the country, but we are looking to recognize their story in the park.
I see Dr. Lurcia Hawkins has her hand up. Question, comment, observation?
Yeah, I just had a question, and so I'm asking, you talked about the reenactment, the kind of march around the Schuylkill, along the Schuylkill through various areas, a 12-mile long march. And one of the things that I think is important, and it kind of dovetails nicely with your inclusion of the Lenape and the Oneida, is the way that marching and occupation, like the reenactment itself, can be traumatizing for groups of people.
Okay.
And so I'm wondering if there are any kind of talkbacks planned or plans to stop and have conversation around that. So what looks, you know, celebratory, it can look celebratory and or, you know, what seems to some people is just a simple reenactment. I think, you know, like has layers of trauma and history embedded in it.
Okay.
Groups of people. And so, yes, acknowledging that there were free Blacks and enslaved folks and Native Americans fighting alongside others doesn't take away from the fact that it's still something that needs to be contextualized in some form or fashion. So I'm just wondering about the potentiality for talkbacks, and I don't know where that would be. Like,
yeah, the big thing is the one, if we have a group, the conversations about having like some sort of like, you know, representation of the army arriving. My considerations at first have been like, one, it's in the middle of winter, so like having a lot of people coming and observing is one thing. At first I was like, oh, we only have the whole community march, but then getting 12 people to trudge 3 miles in 20-degree weather struck me as like, you know, that's going to be a hard thing to motivate people to do. Your concept of like stopping and talking, it's a very interesting one. I'll look into that. And if anything too, those conversations can always be at the final sort of landing of the event at Valley Forge, because then, you know, we've got our visitor center, we have meeting rooms and everything. So, but yeah, no, thank you for bringing that point up. That's a very interesting one.
So that already had been a thought in rotation. Sorry, I had not shared this with you yet, Adam. As you know, I like to ruminate on things first.
Oh yeah.
So similarly with the Conestoga wagons, right? So for some people, Conestoga wagons, 1976, good time had by all. For other people, Manifest Destiny wasn't so great, right? And so already creating space to have that dialogue around Conestoga wagons. And so very aware and socializing these ideas that what's most important to us is being able to lift up multiple points of view. And so always having that 360 awareness. So I appreciate your comment. But we are trying to, as we look at commemorating, make space for how different people might be affected by all of this, you know, because certainly coming from DC, in addition to having the Declaration of Independence, we would also at the Frederick Douglass home have a reading of a very different interpretation as to the meaning of the 4th of July, right? And so what we want to do is create psychologically safe space at the park to have these conversations so that people can plug in where they want to. So if all you want to do is go up and touch a Conestoga wagon and run away, we're good. But if you want to hear more about what the Conestoga wagon means and how different people would have viewed them coming across the prairies, we want to have that dialogue too. So thank you.
This is so wonderful. Mark, I
Adam?
see your hand up. Mark,
Adam?
Yes.
So, in the context of the Chester County 250 Commission and the Philadelphia campaign, we are all ready to go, but I assume that you're doing a similar presentation with Montgomery County
Yes.
and including Montgomery County and other areas in the overall Philadelphia campaign. Obviously, a great part took place in Chester County, but the Philadelphia campaign, as was mentioned, it started in New York and went all the way to Philadelphia. And
I'm
then
not
out.
reaching out to New York City, sorry.
I realize that, but
I have my
Montgomery
limits.
County, but you're including them too, obviously.
Yes, no, yeah, we've well, I mean, the Montgomery County Valley Forge Tourism Convention Board, they have a presence in our visitor center.
Right.
We have a very formal relationship with them, and they've been my conduit towards all things Montgomery County. So yes, they are. They are well aware of all of these things that we're putting on as well. Also.
Well, we hope to do the same for Chester County.
Yes, no, no, this
Beautiful.
has been like, this is the almost 3 years I've been here. This has been the big push to kind of like get Chester County, get
Awesome.
voices at the table a little bit more as well.
We are
Thank
here.
you.
We found the right tables. This is
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much. I am cognizant that it is 12:58. We have one last, I am also cognizant that there are so many historians here with the
Yeah.
chat room. You all are doing, yeah, there's a lot of chat going on that's going to be followed up through here, but this is terrific. I think,
Thank you, Heather, for inviting me to learn about the 250.
Of
And,
course, it's wonderful to see you, Morris.
Well, thank you. It was
Oh.
very enjoyable. And thank you, Adam, Karen, and Rose. It was very, very well done.
we love what you do at the mill there, Morris. So the mill at Anselmo.
The Mill at Anselma and
Adam.
Sarah Oberholzer did have a poem that she recited about Valley Forge. So I think I want to look that up. And also Anselma Mill, William Lightfoot was a procurement person during the Revolutionary War that tried to get food to George Washington's army in Valley Forge. And there was also a Roger Hunt Mill in Downingtown that helped out with the Revolutionary War at Valley Forge. Well, Valley Forge encampment anyway. So thank you again very much. I enjoyed this and I have some research to do.
Always, 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 right? So just in case, on one last pitch. So what we'll do today, there are so many great folks on this session. What we're going to do is actually email everybody the PDF as well as the recording link. We would love for you to share it with your organizations. If you'd like us to come out and talk with you more one-on-one about what's going on, that is what we're here for. So please let me and Heather Reifer know, and we will get somebody out from the 250 Commission and the Friends of 250. The other thing that some of you have also seen, if you haven't gotten, I'm just going to share the screen for these conversations. Hold on. Yeah, we want to make sure that you are cognizant of. Rose, I can't believe it's already over with you and Adam. We've been looking forward to this for so long. Thank you for being our second guest at our 250 is coming to get people's ideas going on what's going on for 250 and what we can be doing, we the people. It's been a real pleasure to hear what you're doing, and I have a feeling we'll be inviting you back in another 6 months or so. For the next couple of sessions, Donna Harris from Heritage Consulting in Philly is going to do visitor readiness stuff. And then mark your calendars, Friday, June 7th at Thornbury Farm, right next to the Brandywine Battlefield. We're doing an in-person 250 is Coming Summit. We'll start coffee at 8 o'clock and hard start at 9 o'clock, and you can grab a lunch and take it back with you. But it's a 250 is Coming Summit, so everybody can do some in-person sharing of ideas and planning of what's going on. So please mark that date and we'll send out evites pretty quickly to it. If you have not taken the visitor readiness self-assessment, you'll get a link after this. Again, we're looking for more responses from that. That'll help Donna Harris to customize her capacity building and visitor readiness capacity building training even more closely. So we just want to make sure that our job is to help people get aware that 250 is coming, and then also to get out the word to everybody that we have things to do, so that we, the people, can have a huge commemoration and celebration in whatever ways make sense to us as individuals, groups, organizations throughout the region. So thank you for, this has been very inspiring. And we've got a bunch of Declaration of Independences on the way. So yeah, there's so much to do. Thank you, everybody. If you want to stay on and chat with other folks, stay on for a few minutes. Otherwise, it's 1 o'clock. So thanks for everything you're doing, Rose, Adam. It's been a delight. And
thank you
forward
for
to
having
spreading
us.
the word. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can stay on for a few more minutes, Adam. You got.
Yeah, I
Thank
was
you.
gonna stay on for a minute or two.
Thank you very